Well, this is part two. Yesterday I took a nap. I was tired. I'm doing a lot of reading. I'm doing a lot of watching. And I just needed a nap. So I laid down and I had this dream. A terrible dream in my view. My wife and I were living in a skyrise of some kind. And we had windows to both sides of the building, and there was a corridor in the middle separating the bedroom and the living room and kitchen and so on. And I was sitting by the table, and it rang on the door, and one of my wife's friends came over, and she was very brief. She said, "You can have this child," that was her child, "and take care of him," and then she left. So I took the boy, 6 or 7 years old, into the living room with me, and what I then saw kind of correspond to what I have been wishing our Lord for the last week now, and that is rain, because there's absolutely no rain here in Indiana. So I was looking out the window, and we had a pretty good view from 10th floor. There was nothing that obstructed our view. So it was a nice, pretty view over the horizon. And out in the horizon on the living room side, I suddenly saw this cloud coming in. And it looked like a rain cloud. And there was this curtain of looking like clouds and rain. And suddenly out of that, I saw 3 tornadoes coming out of it, touching ground. And I was terrified. Never seen a tornado. Yeah, I saw one in Texas, but that was so far away, and I was going so fast and away from it, so I didn't worry too much about that. But I immediately took the boy and went to the other side of the building into the bedroom to take shelter from this coming tornado, and there was actually 3 of them. And there was no sound. And there was no rain. It just looked like it. And this tornado passed right over the building. There was no sound, no shaking. There was no debris flying around. And it passed right outside the bedroom window. I could look straight into it. And it moved away. And I didn't see the 2 others. Maybe they were not there anymore. But I only saw that one. And when it was approximately moved away the same distance when I saw it in the first place, some 3 or 4 miles away, it kind of stopped. And suddenly this gray cloud turned pitch black. And then it just exploded in fire. And it did not come from below the fire. It did not start there. It started from above. And this funnel became a fire column, and everything on the ground where I was looking at was just exploding like a heat blast from a nuclear blast. And I was screaming to this little child to get into the corridor and take cover. And the kid just went behind me and took cover behind me. So it ended up we was crawling towards the corridor to take cover. And at that point, I woke up, and I do what I've been learned, that is to keep your eyes closed after you have had a dream, and then run the dream through in your brain in order to memorize it. If you open your eyes, it's like the negative on a film roll. Most of the details will be deleted, and you won't remember your dream fully. So that was my dream yesterday, and I'm not sure it relates to the Gulf oil spill. Not at all. It was just a very, very bad dream of some kind. I also had a dream which has been following me all my life. And it's been a while since I had that dream. Thank goodness for that. And that is I'm walking. I'm seeing myself from behind. That I'm walking in ruins, burning buildings, and dead people everywhere around me. And the dream is always in black and white. I do not know what that means. Maybe it means I have to see something very terrible in my life, and I just saw another terrible thing in my dream yesterday. I do not know what it means, but it will be helpful if anyone have a comment on that. But I still keep thinking about this one right there. I know that Noah came out and said there was this 20 miles long methane pocket sticking out of the seafloor now, like a bulge. But it is more than 20 miles long. It is 1,400 miles long, and is going from the point around the Macondo Well and all the way underneath Florida, and it ends out in the Bermuda Triangle. And that is a huge, huge methane deposit. And right now they are tapping into it. I'm very much against it. I'm not trying to be a fearmonger, but you can imagine if this goes wrong down there, it's gonna go very wrong. There will be nothing left of Florida. The average height of Florida is 6 inches above sea level. That is how low that peninsula is. And even 100 feet tsunami created by a release of this methane will obliterate and inundate the entire Florida peninsula. There will be nothing left. And if it explodes, well, I mean in flames, there will be no nuclear device that could even match the force of that explosion. It will be felt worldwide, and I would say millions and upon millions of people would die of the heat blast itself and from the gigantic tidal wave it will actually create. It will not just hit America, it will also hit Africa, it will also hit South America, it will also hit Northern Europe and England, Ireland, Greenland. It will hit everywhere in the Atlantic Sea. So that is really, really a concern of me. And again, I'm not trying to fearmonger. I've been saying it all along that I really think that you should leave the area. Yeah, but where should you leave to? We talked about that on the Freedom Link Radio yesterday. I think, I'm not gonna say it was not a good show. It was a good show, but I think we went too far on the survival thing. Unfortunately, on my point of view, I respect Dr. Prepper's ideas, definitely, but I just don't see that will ever hold water. Because if America is put into that situation where it's gonna end bad, there will only be food for the American people in the stockpile for 57 days, and then it'll be all over. And at that point, carnage and possibly cannibalism will set in. And I am very, very sure that there will be no one out there that has a property and has already built up all the stockpile which is needed that will be in safety and be in safety on their property. People will be desperate, and they will be more than willing to kill another man in order to get his stored food. So I don't believe that one will work, unfortunately. It will be terrible, terrible times. And I do remember a Hopi Indian called Red Elk. He was saying that even the adults will eat their own children. That is how bad the situation will get. And that is not, I don't see that anywhere in the Bible. But I definitely see that as a possibility. Because people want to live. And another drive sets in. When you are in a situation where you cannot get food, then you're willing to eat whatever in order to stay alive. That has already been proven from that airplane that crashed in the mountains. And the survivors ended up eating the dead people on board the plane in order to stay alive. And that is the exact same situation the American people will be brought in a case of calamity here in North America. So I don't really think it will in the long run help at all. Shelter is important. Protein is very important too. Water is important. Protein is definitely important in order to maintain your cell structure so you don't fall apart in the middle of it. So that means you will have to eat insects and so on in order to stay alive, because protein is very important. We did not address that issue, but it is very important, protein. Not just hydrates. So I wanted to address that fact yesterday, that I believe they're trying to mine this methane, and they're using this toxic corexit for that use, to melt it in order to harvest it. And you can be pretty sure of this harvest of this methane gas is not for you consumers out there. It is for their own military apparatus. And I strongly believe it relates back to NASA. I think they will use this as some kind of fuel for driving their ships. They have very big plans about space. They should take more interest on planet Earth instead of looking out there and trying to colonize the moon and colonize Mars. That is a waste of money, a waste of resources. We have plenty of problems down here we need to address, instead of going to some dead planet where there is absolutely nothing. And maybe they will use this methane up there. They believe they can use it as a greenhouse gas in order to create an atmosphere around the moon, Mars, or wherever they want to travel to. I just don't see it will work. And I just don't see that as any legitimate reason for tapping in to such a vast reservoir of methane gas lying underneath the surface of the water, as it does from the Mexican Gulf and to the Bermuda Triangle. It is too dangerous. If this don't release itself by explosion, but it comes up as a gas and into our atmosphere, again millions will die, because they will be suffocated by oxygen depletion. And it's not just North America. It will be carried by the western wind in over Europe and far beyond that. So, call it fear-mongering. That's your decision. I just see this as a huge covert military operation, and that is why it's military people down at the beaches. That is why there is a no-fly zone. That's why there is a blackout from the media, and now they're telling you it's all over. It is not over. Well B is still gushing into the sea. And I believe the convection system between the cold water and the warm water has ceased because of the heat up from the bottom up. And now the pump of the heart of the planet Earth is dead. So planet Earth is going to go into a deep freeze unless this methane comes out and gives us a total global disaster of climate warming and melting of the ice on the North Caps. So that's my take on it. You can chew on it. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. But God bless you anyway. God bless you.